Hey folks, ready for a brand new episode of Smack? We'll kick it off right now. Comment everything that you want to tell us down here and show us some love if you like what we do. See you soon.
Hi, my name is Mieke Veldhuis and I'm the Chief People and Culture Officer of the Social Hub, and this is my Smack story.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode here on Smack. And in this episode, I spoke to Mieke Veldhuis, the Chief People and Culture Officer at the Social Hub, formerly known as the Student Hotel. And Mieke and I discussed the name change and what it's going to mean for the teams around Europe, why Human Resources has outgrown its name, and the differences between working in retail and working in hospitality. Enjoy the show. Okay. Mieke, thank you for being on Smack. Welcome to the show. We have 1.5 million things to talk about. I have 482,000 questions for you. Obviously, we need to start with the elephant in the room. TSH is changing.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that are, well, actually, are there a lot of things is really the question. First and foremost, the name has been on your agenda. Walk me through the last couple of months with the big news today, obviously, that the Social Hub is what you guys will be called from now on. Give me your run through of how it's been. Obviously, with your perspective from HR as well, getting the teams on board in the last couple of days. It must have been quite the journey.
It's been quite all right, I can admit that. But first, let me say that I don't fully agree with you, because not everything is changing at the Student Hotel. Yeah. I think we're changing the name from the Student Hotel into the Social Hub. But in the core, it's who we are. So pretty much stays the same, and it's just an evolution of who we've always been and who we have become over the past 10 years, and now we're evolving into the next 10 years. So I think still a lot of things remain the same. It's the name that will change, and maybe you are right. Along with that, quite a lot will change.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
Yes, we've been through quite a transformation in the past, I think 1.5 years. It started all during COVID. Challenging times, but also times to look back, to reset, to reflect, and look to the future as well, and how to evolve as a company. So yeah, a lot of work has been done.
It's funny you say that, because I was fortunate enough to speak to Charlie on the podcast here. So he's been on Smack not too long ago, and I visited you guys in Amsterdam at the time, in the old headquarters, might I add, which was a very cool place. And I have a memory of one of the things that he said at the time, and I wanted to see how that sentence, transcended now into what you guys are doing with the Social Hub. He said the very infamous sentence, for me anyways, the hotel is dead, long live the hotel.
Yes.
Which I think you've heard as well, probably.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how does that sentence kind of explain what you guys are doing now? Because you guys are so much more than just, a hotel.
Yes, I think we call that hybrid hospitality. So it's way more than a hotel, indeed. And I think that's also why the new name, the Social Hub, really resonates with it. It's a hub where things are coming together. It's the center of something bright, something innovative, something inspiring, dynamic, energetic. And it's all under one roof, or under two roofs, but centered around one place. So it's hotel experiences, long stay, short stay, extended stay, all kinds of stay. It is student accommodation, it's restaurants, it's swimming pools, it's gyms, it's events, it's programming, learn opportunities, grow, co-working, co-living. It's everything under one roof. So I think that's what we call hybrid hospitality.
Very cool. Now, from an HR perspective, because clearly that is the field that you're responsible for at TSH, explain to me the process of getting a team on board for something like this, because I imagine I realize we only have half an hour, but because I imagine when you first heard this and when this was first brought to you, I'm almost certain 1 million things went through your mind of how to go about this. Explain to me how to go about something like that, being in charge of HR. The name, and yes, I agree, not everything is going to change, but the name is pretty essential for what people in a company identify for, right?
Absolutely. I think every employee at TSH is identifying him or herself with the brand that we are. So it is a journey that we take them on. And it's quite something. We, by the way, don't call it HR. It's not. It's way more than just human resources.
Yeah.
It's about people and culture, and the people are really close to our heart. So you really have to take care of them. And that all started during COVID, when the world was changing, everything was changing, hotels were changing, hybrid hospitality was changing. And we started doing online festivals. And at that time, early 2020, mid 2020, we already knew what was coming. The seed was already planted in Charlie's head. The idea was there. And we knew this is going to be something big. So to make people comfortable with change, you have to gear them up for that. So we organized online festivals, seminars, workshops, podcasts, all kinds of events and team events, to make people familiar with how change can impact you and what it does with you, your emotions and your feelings, and how you can deal with that, how you deal with that on an individual level, on a team level, on a company level. And we've been building on that. So we've talked a lot about transformation and change, and make people comfortable dealing with change. But we also spoke a lot about the basic levels of service, the basic service levels that we want to offer in our hotels. We developed a whole new training program. So we started to train our people up from like the scratch, from the fundamentals up till the brilliant basics to uniquely TSH experiences. And that's a long journey. So. And it's pretty amazing to see it all coming together in this week, particularly today, this Thursday, that we've been working on one team, one community, offering one experience. And only today we revealed, even to our own internal teams, that it's all about one brand. So something that we have been working on, like kind of secretly on a hidden code name, a project called TSH 3.0, which is now the social hub. It's all coming together and it's amazing.
Yeah, let's talk about the name very very briefly. The social hub. You explained already to me at the beginning that you said, it's we want to identify as a hub where people come together for different reasons. That might be, like you said, long stay, short stay. Obviously, the element of the students is not going anywhere. It's going to stay right at the core of what you're doing. And yet, you chose to leave out the word hotel from the name, which is something that stands out to me. Can you give me your thoughts or the team's thoughts on why you think, because from the outside perspective that might seem like a pretty brave step.
Well, this is my personal take on it. I loved the student hotel, the name of it, because it needed an explanation, because we were so much more than just student accommodation or a student hotel or a hotel. And I love storytelling. So if a brand or a brand name needs a story to explain it, I really love that, because then it will resonate with people. And that's the same now. It's the social hub. Everything is in there, but it still needs a little bit of explanation, because it's not immediately resonates as a hotel. So we need to add on it, and we have to continue to tell stories. And those stories are all out there, and they are amazing. So it will build up to that meaning and the real purpose of the brand.
And I do want to get your take on one thing of the social hub before we move on to your career and how you got to where you are today. I think it's amazing the fact that you guys from the head office decided that you would go to the properties from the team, and especially obviously from the C-level, and you decided, okay, we want to have a representation in as many hotels as we can get away with, and send somebody who's been involved in the process from the beginning to the team. Explain to me why that's important, because that's not something, to be very honest with you, that's not something a lot of hotel companies will do, is when they change something of their strategy, they won't necessarily have somebody, from the top decision-making level fly out to the individual. Now, granted, you don't have 600 hotels yet.
That helps.
That does help, yeah. But it's still, it seems like a pretty deliberate decision.
It is a deliberate decision, and it's important to us because, and again, it is very much in the wording, and we gave a lot of thought to the wording, and we don't call it headquarters, we don't call it HR, we don't call it...
those traditional names.
The traditional names.
Yeah.
It's not a headquarters, we call it the service hub. So in Amsterdam, we have a service hub that is servicing our local hubs that are hosting our guests. And one of the pillars of this whole transformation is, as I said, one team. So we are one team servicing one community who are experiencing one experience with one brand. And the one team, it's not just in the hotels where people fulfill the role of a community host and as one team are servicing our guests to the max. But it's really also the local hubs working together with the service hubs in Amsterdam or in Barcelona. And also from that perspective, we really want to be sure that we are one team. So being here today with the teams in Berlin or my colleagues who are in Vienna today or in Barcelona today or in Madrid or in Groningen, Maastricht, The Hague, Rotterdam, we are all over the place. We are in this together. And it should feel as one, and I think that's also our strength. It feels as one family, and that's pretty amazing. And then you also have to show up if there's a family party.
Yeah,
right.
Very, very true. Very well said. So Mieke, explain the role of people and culture in all of this to me, because there's been a whole lot of chit chat in the industry in the past. Probably as of the pandemic, and we don't want to talk about the pandemic too much because we're done with it. Hopefully,
we're done with it.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, let's just pretend we are. So explain the role of people and culture to me, Mieke, because I was wanting to get your take on how the role of people and culture has changed since the past, let's say 1.5, 2 years, maybe a little bit more. They have been pretty much on in the center spotlight, more so probably than previously in the hospitality industry. That has brought upon us some new things like employer branding, which previously people thought was nice to have if there was time, and now a couple of people realize, it's actually pretty
important.
It's a pretty good idea.
It's pretty important.
Yeah.
Yes.
So explain, because you've been with TSH for a couple of years now, and I wanted to see how you thought that change in mindset has come across. Now I think we can all agree, certainly from my generation's perspective, it's a little late that we've decided that people and culture were probably a pretty important part to focus on, but rather late than never, right?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think, it's again in the wording, it's human resource management. It's a little bit old school. It's like you're creating rotas, you're planning people on shifts, and you're managing those people through the day. Where I really prefer to talk about people and culture, because I think that's the one thing that makes us unique and that sets us apart. And if you look at reviews or if you look at fora, then what really makes an impact on people's life are other people. Like it's first impressions, it's a smile on a day, it's a good service level standard. And I don't think that you can be in hospitality without caring about your people. So if you want to offer a brilliant experience to your guests, you have to start with offering a brilliant experience to your employee, because they will pass that on. So for me, people are always at the core of a business, at the core of a brand. And I do recognize that employer branding is relatively important nowadays, also because there's quite a bit of scarcity in the market. But I think it should be authentic. It should come from the core, and it's not about marketing. It's not about branding. It should be real. So you should really care about your people. You should really put your people at the center of what you're doing, so that they can truly make a difference. And that will resonate not only with your guests, but also with partners, with suppliers, with stakeholders, with new employees. And if you do the right thing, it will resonate and it will attract new people that also fit your purpose or your mission or that feel at home.
The scarcity that you just talked about, and the fact that, I think we can all agree that there's clearly a lack of of people at the moment and of workforce in the industry. What are we going to do about it? I mean, between you and I, it's just, we'll not tell anybody.
Maybe we should take this offline, because I think if we figure it out, the two of us, we can start our own business and solve a lot of the world problems right now.
I'm right there. I'm right with you. No, but in all seriousness, because I think, if we talk about the fact that we don't have enough people in the industry, obviously the first question many people are going to ask is why, right? Why is that? Is it the past? Have we not done enough in the past? Have we, are we not paying them enough? And in all of that, there's probably some truth. What I think is a question that isn't maybe asked enough is what can we do?
Well, I don't think that we will solve it short notice. I think this problem will be out there for a while. It's not just the hospitality industry, it's basically all industries. So the problem is getting more profound and bigger as we speak. So it will be there, but I I do think that the way we work will change or has to change. So we have to really look into how can we work more efficient. How can we make use of automation, of systems, of future-proof systems, really innovative systems that make our work easier, so that the people that we do have can really focus on making that different and an impact on our guest life. And I think that's where the crews sit, where the solution sits, but it's not solved at once. It takes quite some investments. It takes some innovative thinking. It requires a vision. It requires training and education. You need different kind of people. And I think that's also kind of amazing. That's in our name again. You need social people that are able to connect with guests and with individuals, that are able to build relationships, but not necessarily work on all the admin that's behind it. So we have to be smart about it. But yeah, I also want to be very honest. I'm not really sure whether we will solve it soon. It's a real challenge.
It is, no, for sure.
Absolutely.
When we talk about the people and culture segment, and especially in relation to TSH, I know that Philip, who is the GM here in Berlin, who is a good friend of the podcast and one of the hosts on Smack as well, so he knows a thing or two about our program here. It's sometimes it takes authentic, more authentic leaders. And I wanted to get your take on this, and I can see you smiling. You can't see this right now, but Miike's smiling already. It takes more authentic leaders, perhaps, to help facilitate that shift in how we need to think about people and culture. First question, A, would you agree? From the smile, I can anticipate you probably will. And B, how important is that? Because leadership in hospitality, if we make it more specific, leadership in hotels, used to be a super, super, super traditional thing.
Yeah.
Is that still in style, or have we outgrown that, hopefully?
Yeah. Well, the answer is in your wording. We've outgrown that, hopefully. Yeah. So hopefully, yes, we have outgrown that. But I still think in the fundament, you need a little bit of that old-fashioned practicality, just do it mentality. Because in hospitality, everything has to work smoothly and perfectly, and it needs to be efficient, and it needs to be organized well. So your shift planning, your service levels, your cleanliness of the hotel, the tidiness, the restaurant, the food that you serve, it has to be perfect. That's the baseline. But then you have to add something unique to it. And that's where authentic leadership or unique leadership or characteristics or fun people enter the room. And that's what I love so much about the social hub. It's like the fundamentals are there. It's all well organized, but we also bring something unique to it. So yes, it has outgrown the old school traditional hotel standards, maybe, by adding something unique on top of it that makes it unique.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Let's move away, as much as I hate to, but let's move away a little bit from the social hub and let's talk about you for a second, because I have done some digging as we usually do. You have, and you will accept this you will probably have to accept this compliment from me, Mieke. You haven't been in the hospitality industry for a whole long time.
Very long time.
Yeah. And you and I think it's quite interesting if we look at your career path, and I wanted to get your take, because with the previous company that you've been with, you've been with them for a considerable amount of time.
Absolutely.
In a very different role as well.
Absolutely, that's right. Yeah.
So would you mind telling the audience and the listeners a little bit about what you did before, and the fact or why it might actually be a good idea to change from commercial to people and culture, because that's not usually... No,
it's not a usual...
It's not a usual career path, right? You would agree?
No, I absolutely agree. I started at Bugaboo, and that was in 2001, so a decade ago. I was really young at that time. And I started in marketing, and that's my background. I have a marketing background. And we were only 4 or 5 employees. I was number 5, I believe, if I remember well, 5 or 6. It was in a basement in Amsterdam with just an idea, a prototype, and a product. It was a stroller, a pushchair for babies. And it was a startup. And we grow over the 18 years. We grew that brand into a global brand. We were selling in 40 countries. It was pretty well known with celebrities across the world. And I moved from marketing in about 7 or 8 years into a more sales role, a commercial role. And that was for the reason that I saw that the product was not sold at the standards that we, from a brand perspective, found so important. Mm-hmm. So we really wanted to build this very strong brand, but then you also have to make sure that all your salespeople out in the field there across the globe tell the same story and sell the product in the same way. So very high standards, very high requirements. And I said, well, if I don't trust anyone with the brand and my baby, then let me do it myself. So I took over sales, and I never done sales before, but I thought, well, it's probably not that hard if you're a good storyteller. So I was even saying to our people, like, I'm not the chief of sales, but I'm the chief of storytelling. You have to be able to tell a good story to position the product at the right level, at the right premium, so that it resonates well with your retailers and your customers. So I built teams, sales and marketing teams, in Europe, in Americas, and in Asia. And I stayed within the company for 18 years, and I looked after the sales departments, the marketing departments, service departments. I worked quite a bit with sales and operations. And in the end, I was also heading HR at the time. So I had quite a broad portfolio. And when I left finally in 2018 Bugaboo, after it was sold to American investors, I created kind of a short list, and I allowed myself for one break year, which my son nowadays loves as well, but a break year where you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. So I did a lot of crazy stuff, and I created a short list, like, what do I want out of a next career? And by far, number one was building great teams. That's what I love. And then you look at a people area. But I also wanted to be part of a young company, an informal company without politics, international, fast-growing, based in the Netherlands, because I want to make an impact on strategy and not just roll out a strategy that's set in the US. Yeah. And one of the most important things, I want to have a lot of fun. And somehow, in a very organic way, the Students' Hotel crossed my path. And I had conversations with Felix at that time, and with Charlie, and with a lot of other people. And over, I think, a period of 8-9 months, I kind of softly landed into that role. Yeah. And somehow I ended up in the people and culture role. And I think what was the benefit for the Student Hotel, or the interesting part for the Student Hotel, they were not looking for a traditional HRM manager. They were looking for somebody that went through tremendous growth, hyper growth. So the chaotic, stormy weather that you're always in companies like this. Somebody that will not get nervous from stormy weather. Somebody that understands the business and can support the business from a people perspective, but also understanding the challenges that every hotel will have or every department will have. And have a broader view than just HRM. So that's how I ended up here, and I still love it.
What a story! I mean, I've been fortunate enough to listen to quite a few stories on Smack, and it's certainly a unique one. When Philip passed me your name and said, Mieke is coming to Berlin, we should have her on the show, and I went through. I was like, is there something wrong with her LinkedIn? Because I feel like this is not the normal way.
No, it's not a normal way.
So I mean, what a story, Mieke. And let me ask you two questions in relation to that. The first thing I would like to get your take on is, and I feel like you touched on this briefly already. Has the role of people and culture changed? Has the role? So we've agreed on the fact we're not going to call it HR anymore. We're sold on that. Has it changed? Is it more complicated? Maybe complicated is the wrong word. Is it more diverse now? Because I feel like what you just said and building teams, with all due respect to the hospitality industry, and clearly my relatively young age might be the cause of the sentence, that was probably a way of thinking that was not going to fly 10, 15 years ago, because it was just about selling quicker, harder, faster, more internationally. In that regard. So has it changed?
I think you're probably right, and it's still changing, and it will continue to change as the world around us is changing faster as well. So I think we are all adapting, and I don't want to go back to the COVID times, but also...
But they've impacted it, clearly.
They have definitely impacted it, and we have to take care way more about the emotional well-being of our employees, because a lot of our employees, we work with a lot of different cultures, a lot of international people who are far away from home, had to deal with COVID by themselves, being alone in a different country, not going or not being able to go to work from home. So yes, it did have an impact, and you have to take care of health and well-being, about work and life balance, about mental health, and there's different needs from employees. It's not all about I want to know which hours I need to work and when my payslip will be paid, but also employees want to be part or want to feel part of something social, something bigger, something they can relate to. something purposeful, something a brand or a company or a family that makes an impact, creates something for the outside world. So it is all very important. We are still the more established or old school. The employee journey is still very important as well. So everything has to be right, but you have to do a bit more to really attract people and to make a difference and make an impact on an employee's life as well.
And the second question I want to ask is how when you go to, because clearly you travel through the TSH properties and you, I'm sure you speak to people there, and I would like to understand how you feel the people when, because I would assume most of them will know that you're senior in the company and in charge of people and culture. So I wanted to ask how they talk to you, and not in a sense of whether they're polite or not. I will assume they are, but how they, how openly they now share feedback with you. Because I feel like the whole idea of feedback, and it's important for you because you're in the service hub in Amsterdam, and you might not always, understand what somebody in Barcelona, in Berlin, or in Vienna might need in this, at this point in time, and you might even not be aware of it because you've got 1.5 million other things to do. So the whole idea of feedback. Give me your take on that, because I feel it's grown in importance.
Feedback is extremely important. It's so valuable, and it tells you so much on how you can continuously improve, not only for your guests but also for your employees. I have to be honest, with my title on my head, Chief of People and Culture, people are sometimes reluctant to be open and honest, to tell you everything. But I hope that I'm very open and approachable, and that people will share their feedback with me. So indeed, I travel a lot. I talk to a lot of people. I always have open doors. I react to every email that I get within like a few hours, or everybody can reach me by phone. But we also have a system in place where people can anonymously leave feedback, let us know how they are feeling, what they value about TSH, what they probably want to see improved. And that's completely anonymous. So I will see all the feedback from all our hotels across Europe, which is tremendously helpful. And people will rate the student hotel as an employer, and they will let us know how healthy or how happy they feel. So that is an important tool, but even there, you are never 100% sure how open and real it is. So I do invite always everybody to give feedback. We also implemented a new kind of way of looking at performance management. So instead of having twice a year, like a mid-year conversation and an end-of-year conversation where an employee is always looking for like, oh, how high will my raise be? And they are not really listening to what you're saying. We're trying to get away from that. So we have an annual pay or salary review, let's say, by the end of August. That's when our financial year ends. And that is just a moment in time when we review your salary. But during the year, we have ongoing feedback. So basically, you're sitting with your manager on a bi-weekly or a weekly basis, based on your own desires. And we really talk about like what's going well, what can be improved. And we also try and encourage managers, and we train them on that to give feedback in the moment and not just once or twice a year. And then we have implemented growth conversations, which only happen in December, January. So far away from the salary review, so that it can never be connected. And employees will not go into that conversation with the salary in the back of their mind, but they really go into that conversation to talk about their future, their growth, their developments, and what do they want to achieve in their personal lives, in their professional lives, and how we can help and support them there. So by totally discoupling those conversations from salary reviews, I really hope that people will get into this growth mindset and look at it in a different way and have different conversations with their managers.
Let's talk about something that that is uniquely connected to you and your career path. When you came into hospitality, and like you said, it's not been too long. It's been a couple of years only, and unfortunately, 2 of those were obviously massively dominated by COVID, which I'm sure, and I want to get your take on that as well at a later stage. But I wanted to ask, if you think about hospitality and what you've seen in hospitality now in the couple of years that you've been in the industry, and coming from the commercial background, of selling a product. A pretty cool product. I mean, I don't have kids yet, but from what I've, Googled and seen, and I've seen the buggies around, a pretty cool product. Explain to me how you feel people and culture works in hospitality, maybe as opposed to what you've seen previously in the commercial world. Now, I realize you weren't responsible for people and culture, but I'm sure the way I've gotten to know you now, I'm sure you have an opinion on how the commercial world might work against what you've seen in hospitality?
Well, I think there are quite some similarities. Like, look at the ways of working. It's in the product at that time at Bugaboo, it was about delighting your customers, offering them solutions to problems they didn't even know were existing. About little surprises built into the product that even if you would have bought it, let's say a year ago, you would still figure out after a year or after 1.5 years, oh wow, the product can also do this or that, which is like there's additional functionality that I was not aware of, and I only learn now, or I see somebody on the street. So it's about delighting, it's about seducing, it's about surprising, and I think that's similar in hospitality. Like you offer unique experiences, you invite guests into your house. And you want to delight them. You want to seduce them. You want them to become ambassadors and come back or go visit other locations because they are so surprised in what you offer. And it's just that the experience is closer to the consumer, like in time. So the moment you enter the house, you want to be surprised. Where with a product, you buy it, and with your Apple iPhone, for example, you buy it, and even like last week, I already use it for 15 years, I found out about new functionalities. I think that's great about great products, and that's similar to great hospitality. So if you do something that's so special, and you have to open hearts and minds. That's similar.
Yeah, very cool. I have a secret I need to share with you.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And it's actually so I heard that you've been focusing, and I was wondering whether you might want to share this with us. Focusing on a challenge, you personally on a challenge this year that has to do. Yeah, they've been talkative, your team. That has to do with the diet of people. Would you mind sharing that story and what you've experienced from it?
The diet of people,
or the sugar aspect.
I like already for I think 5 years or so. Every New Year's Day, I commit myself to this promise for the year. What am I going to be better at? I will be nicer to my children. I will start running. I will visit my parents more often. Blah 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 blah. And for 5 years in a row, I put down no sugar, no alcohol, no blah blah blah. So my short list of doing good for myself. Yeah. And in the end, I never succeed. So I did dry January and I passed that. But then after January, I doubled down on it. So it didn't help. And I did a lot of things. And this year, it was not New Year's Day. It was after my holidays. And I really thought, okay, the sugar, it should be gone now. So bold letters in front of my phone, discipline. Yeah. That's what it all comes back to. But I also learned that I try to do too much at once. So I make this list of things that I need to do. And now after my summer holidays, so it was the 1st of September, I thought, okay, there's only one thing that I'm truly going to commit to, and that's no sugar. Okay. So since September 1st, I stopped with eating sugar, and I'm doing really great. So it's easier to focus on one thing. Yeah. So I can still drink alcohol if there's no sugar in it. I'm not sure if that's a reliable answer, but yeah, it's doing me well.
Very good, very good. So the story is that I obviously, like I said, I spoke to some people beforehand, and I wanted to know, what is there to know outside of the clinics. He said, well, she's been very strong on the no sugar topic for a month now. So
but it's brutally honest. It only works if it's focusing on one thing, because if you do more than multiple things, it will not work. And I don't have discipline for that. But discipline for one thing, I can do it.
We can run with it. Very good.
I can do it.
Very good. Mieke, before we go, let me ask you two more very quick questions. In an ideal world, the social hub that starts today, what is it going to bring to TSH? What would you? And I realize this might be a very subjective answer. It might not be the objective, answer that might be given out in a press statement. But your own personal wish for TSH, the social hub.
Well, I think what resonates so well with me is our purpose. So the reason why we are here in the world, and that's together we create a better society, and that's something really big. It's quite a promise, but if we can do that for our own employees, from my perspective, so if we together, our group of employees, the family that the social hub is, we can create a better society, step by step, little by little, piece by piece, then I would be super, super, super happy.
Good. We'll see how that pans out when we talk again in a year. We'll see how that goes. And a final question that I sometimes throw in at the end of it. From all your traveling that you've been, give me your favorite hotel that is not a TSH property, or your favorite destination that comes to mind.
Yeah, that's probably for me very easy. I've traveled quite a lot and really like a lot, like sometimes 6 times a year to Los Angeles.
Okay.
And I had one preferred hotel there, which was called the Beach Hotel. The Beach House.
Yeah.
Beach House Hotel. It was in Hermosa Beach.
Okay.
So a little town outside of Los Angeles connected to it. And it was not a very spectacular hotel, I have to be honest. It was pretty traditional, no breakfast served, like typical Los Angeles style.
Yeah.
But it was on the beach, like literally on the beach.
Yeah.
So, and I've been there so many times, and I literally felt home. And the one thing that I remember from that hotel was the valet parking guy.
Valet parking guy, okay.
The valet parking guy. He was a Mexican, 60 years old, family man or so. And he knew me. Like, I've been traveling there for 8-10 years, maybe 6 times a year or whatsoever. And he was always happy to see me back. And I brought little gifts for his family. And it was like coming home. And that's what a hotel should offer, no matter how it looks, no matter how cool or whatever it is. But this guy, this Mexican valet parking guy, he made me feel, I'm home again. And that's special about a hotel.
That's the perfect story. Mieke, thank you so much for your time. Just like that, 36 minutes have passed in no time.
You promised me that.
I did promise you that. Yes. No. I hope we kept the promise. Congratulations on everything you've achieved with the social hub and the launch today. Well done.
Thank you so much
to the team, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's it for this episode, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to share your thoughts on this episode and everything else that is going on at Smack with us by checking out our website at smack.media, or connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Instagram. We'll see you next time.
Hey guys, I hope you liked this show as we did it. More to see and watch right here. Click here and show us some love. See you soon. Bye.